What is important about the great freedom is that it doesn't hold to anything. It's that is the predominant awareness of everything. So if we talk about God, or we talk about devotion, or we talk about any of these things, then it's awareness that is the root of that. Awareness is the root of everything. If we start to get wrapped up in the labels, then immediately we've made something that we want to rely on as a label or a description. And that's all right, of course, but the simplicity of who we are doesn't require that. It's best to know the simplicity of who we are in a very direct way and then make decisions about those other things, like what other people have written. When we rely on the concepts and the analysis of others, then we only know about those concepts. We only know about that analysis. When we rely on our own direct experience, then we rely on the direct experience of our own being. So this is certainly what was suggested by Ramana Maharshi, in essence. And even though he taught devotion and inquiry, he taught many other things as well. These are just two things that interpreters of Ramana Maharshi have said about him and focused on. But, many of these things that we read that were written by Ramana Maharshi or other beings, they were translated into English or other languages, and they were translated by people who didn't even know Ramana Maharshi, or if they did, they were still just interpreting what he said. So you see, we can't really know. We can't really know. All we know is that when we see someone like Ramana Maharshi, we know, wow, that's who I am. That's what we really experience. That's the experience to count on. What in our own being is that experience of being, and then to just rely on that, to rest as that, and allow that to be the case for us. In that, all inquiry is ended. There are many ideas about things, but many of these ideas came up in a world that was much different than today's world. So that people were living in very isolated geographical circumstances. Even the country of India was a very isolated geographical circumstance, or any other country, until not that long ago. Only within the last 100 years could we begin to travel freely. And we had no way as a human population to communicate with each other either. 100 years ago, no telephones, certainly no internet, and all of these things are rapidly changing. So now we're more of a global human culture, and this will become more and more predominant. So isolated cultures will just disappear as all things disappear. All things are subject to the law of impermanence, no matter what they are. And the greatest traditions, the greatest cultures, the greatest spiritual ways of seeing, the greatest non-spiritual ways of seeing things, all of these will completely disappear. So today, as we have this open communication with each other, it's very important to speak about who we are in a simple way that we can all understand, everyone all over the world, without making it into anything, without either overcomplicating it or oversimplifying it. To oversimplify it is to just say, well, only awareness is. Everything is awareness. That means all my thoughts, my emotions, I'm awareness, and now I can do whatever I want. Well, you see, this isn't an intellectual assumption. That's not what beingness is. It isn't an intellectual assumption. So that's oversimplification. To really become familiar in our own being with the reality of the indivisibility of awareness and the emptiness of all things. In our own being, to be only that, that's what true freedom is. And that is inseparable from flawless wisdom that is potently beneficial. So if we just look for mental freedom, we have some sort of freedom, but it isn't real freedom. Real freedom is beyond that. It transcends all labels, such as mental freedom. The real nature of every single human being is exalted. The great powers of potent benefit are the real nature of every human being. The kind of benefit that comes from transcending, from going beyond all labels, from going beyond all intellectual speculation, with no need to hold to anything. This that is completely beyond all conventional thinking, all conventional beliefs, all beliefs about past, present, and future. This is our own freedom. This is the great freedom. If we continue to try to hold on to conventional ideas, that'll lead us nowhere. You know, it's only in our own being that we can come to a definitive conclusion about who we are. We need that for ourselves as individuals, and we need it all together, for everyone all together, all over the globe. We really need this very much. So the mandate is to speak of this in a way that everyone can understand with no one left out, in a way that is so simple and direct that just by hearing, conviction will dawn. Just by hearing, certainty will dawn, with nothing else needing to be done. We already are who we are, so when we hear about it, we respond, we feel that opening, and we feel that opening because it already is who we are. And although we've had one thing perhaps affirmed about ourselves for a very long time, we believe things about ourselves just from having those things affirmed. Do you see what I'm saying? Over and over and over again. And so when we have our true nature affirmed in a completely unerring way that's totally supported, to help us see through, to help us cut through all appearances as awareness, then it's guaranteed. You know, it's absolutely guaranteed. I see this not only in myself and my own experience, but in the experience of many others. When we live lives on planet fear, you know, where we're fearing everything, then we always consider ourselves as flawed. Most of us don't really feel that we can achieve our dreams or that we can have any power to affect change, when all of the while within us, we are all powerful and all knowing. But that's just philosophy until we begin to experience it in our own being. And when that's experienced in our own being, then sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, we begin to know that we are the exalted flawlessness of awareness itself. That we don't have to plan, we don't have to worry. That even if we do make a plan, we don't have any attachment to that plan. We can make a great, tremendous plan and then with equally tremendous fluidity carry it out because we don't hold to any expectation of the way things will be. This is the fluid nature of all knowingness, the natural order of all knowingness. So you see, this is a very important matter. It's really an important matter. There's no one who's ever been left out. Not ever. And there's no one who will ever be left out. Everything that is wholly positive and pure just as it is. But continuing to approach everything through the laws of saying good and bad, good and evil, this is good, this is evil, this is beneficial, this is harmful, that's a very limited existence. Beyond all that is exalted existence, beyond the need to rely on labels of good and bad. The wholly positive of good is the wholly positive of bad. And that wholly positive nature is beyond good and bad. It's beyond cause and effect. In its own wisdom, there is absolute flawlessness that does not need to rely on labels of good and bad. Its wisdom is beyond the need to call anything either. And this is very simple. It's the great simplicity of the wisdom body of aware pure space.